Hello fellow crafters, Janine here, and today I am bringing you a video project that I am sure has plagued the heart and mind of many a crafter. Can I achieve beautiful Copic or Aqua marker type results with Crayola markers? And I know so many of you out there who have been working with Copics and know how wonderful that is going, no way, Janine, there's no way that can happen. And those of you who love your Spectrum Aqua markers are going, nope, not going to happen. Can't get Aqua marker results with Crayolas. Well, I'm telling you, you can achieve this beautiful blended look with Crayola markers. And I am going to show you how. I'm going to bring you through my process of experimentation that I went through personally, trying to figure out how to make this work so that I could show you guys. And it was a process, and I'm sorry this video is a little bit long, but I'm telling you it's going to be worth it, because you're going to see all the mistakes that I made, or all the assumptions that I made that didn't work out, that didn't bring me the results I was looking for, but how they taught me something and got me to the place where I achieved the results I was looking for. So if you'd like to see how to turn your Crayolas into Aqua markers or get Copic style results with them, then stay tuned. I belong to the Creative Arts Collaboration here on YouTube, as well as their private Facebook group page. And one of my fellow collaborators, whose YouTube name is Mayot Silk, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but they have a website which is www.maatsilk.com, www.mayotsilk.com. And she does these beautiful coloring pages, kind of like a Zentangle, but or the adult coloring books that are so popular right now. And she asked me if I would be willing to receive some of the files from her collection, Sunday Clothes, and just play with them and see what I think, and do a YouTube video. So I did. These are coloring pages that are available for sale, but I did receive them for free to try them out and give you my thoughts and opinions on them, and to make a video, but I'm not being paid otherwise or any other kind of way to do that. Anyway, so I think they're really fun. I'm not sure what exactly I'm going to use them for, other than just relaxation and coloring, but I did want to try a couple of techniques on them to see some different coloring techniques that I've been wanting to try. But anyway, they also come with this cover page that gives you some background about where she got the idea for the pages, and also a few coloring tips. She suggests working with a limited color palette of 4 to 6 colors, not doing too many, because then it can just get to be too much. For the background, to do either your darkest or your lightest color so that the other colors really pop against it. Don't forget that white is a color, and leave some areas blank in a way of bringing highlights into the pattern. Always try out your colors, which she does include a place to test out your colors on your paper before you put them on your design. And I thought that was kind of cool too. And then she has a little saying that goes with each one of the patterns, which is really cute. Like this one is called Ribbons, and she says, she wore colored ribbons down her back, curling and tumbling downwards. They fluttered in the morning breeze, cornflowers, daisies, and poppies gathered in a blanket. Spring had arrived at last. So that's really cute. Anyway, so this is a coloring technique that I've been wanting to try for a while. I'm sorry, she says, finally be daring in your color choices. Sometimes the most unlikely combo will work. So, what I did is, on my 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper, it's Canson brand, which I gotta tell you, my laser printer did not love this paper. It really didn't, but that's okay. Because I really wanted to try this on watercolor paper, because I knew that it would work better for what I'm wanting to try out than on regular paper. Regular paper would be too thin, would peel too easily, and I just didn't know about other types of paper. So like I said, my laser printer didn't love printing on this paper, but it did it, so that's all that I care about. Anyway, the technique I've been wanting to try is trying to do watercoloring with Crayola markers. So I have all these Crayola markers I picked up after all the back to school supplies had been out for a little while. They put a lot of stuff on clearance, so I picked up quite a few of these while they were on clearance, so I got them really cheap. And I know that I can, if I wanted to, say just scribble them onto an acrylic block, add some water to it, and use it as a watercolor like that. So that is one option. But I want to try something a little bit different, to kind of use them almost like the Aqua markers that you see, like the Zig clean color markers and the Spectrum Aquas. So I wanted to give them a try like that. So a lot of this is really just going to be experimentation on my part, just to see if it's going to work, to get those kind of natural watercolor blends. So without further ado, let's color. Oh, and just so that you don't just have to sit here and listen at me breathe, I'm probably going to go ahead and play some music now, and then when I have things to say about how this is working or not working, I'll pause the music and then come on and talk to you and tell you what I'm thinking. Anyway, I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you as well, so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, first what I'm going to do, and I apologize, there's probably going to be some awkward angles for you guys, but what I'm hoping to accomplish is, I know generally with blending with markers you start with your lightest color and go to your darkest, but because I'm trying to do this like a watercolor technique, I'm going to start with my darkest color and then try to blend it out to a light color, and I really absolutely have no idea if this is going to work. And I did go ahead and gather up, I just got a couple of small watercolor brushes I had, just a couple of round ones. I'm going to start with the bigger one, and I'm going to get it wet. And I don't want it overly wet, so I have a little towel here next to me that I'm blotting off some of the excess water. And I'm going to get that marker wet. Okay, well that definitely didn't. Now I'm not really sure if you can see that at all. Oh well. Okay, but that definitely didn't do what I thought it was gonna do. I mean, it did pull color down, and it did lighten it a little bit, but it didn't create a seamless blend. So that was just on dry paper. So I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to wet the paper first. And this is why I wanted to print it on my laser printer, because I knew that laser ink would not be affected whatsoever by the watercoloring. Once I got the area completely saturated with water and I let it soak in for a couple of minutes, then I came back with the marker directly to the paper, and the color really did bloom, and it did blend okay. But it wasn't the result I was looking for. It didn't get exactly where I was hoping to go with the process, and it was too much wet on wet for the paper. Here I just set it with my heat gun so that I could get a look at the final results. Okay, so far I'm batting zero. Neither one of these techniques worked out this started peeling the paper, causing the paper to peel, rather, is a better way to describe it. Trying to color onto that wet paper with the marker was just not, it was not friendly. It was making the paper quite mad. Not a friendly exchange at all between marker and paper. So I'm just going back over it with a wet brush just to see if I can kind of pull the color out a little bit, and just not what I was hoping, not the results that I was hoping for. But I tell you, I really am digging the her coloring pages. I do think they're pretty. I think they're unique and special, and I can see being able to cut the images out and use them in other areas of crafting, whether it be in mixed media journal pages or in card making, scrapbooking. I can see a lot of uses for her coloring pages, and I do think they are really pretty images and fun to color. So that's not too horrible. I don't hate it. I'm still not too in love with this. So what I'm wondering is if I pick up some of that color, maybe do a little bit of a blend between the two. If I can help blend it out a little bit better. So now I'm going to try a more traditional watercolor method and just wet the area that I would like some color to flow into. I'm going to scribble some of that Crayola marker onto an acrylic block. And I'm going to get it a little bit wet. Well, that's looking a little better. So I think the lesson of the day is a more traditional watercolor technique with the Crayola markers is what works best. I was just really hoping that we could do some coloring and then just go back with a little water and make it blend and make it kind of like an aqua marker, which would have been awesome. But that is not how this is working. Well, I've learned a lot in this process. And just to recap, and because I know you tuned in to this video to see how to get Copic-like results with Crayola markers. So we're about there, I promise. We're almost there. This was the absolute closest results I got adding Crayola or adding marker directly to wet paper. The only problem was is the paper didn't love it, and so there was a lot of peeling. And this was just doing straight out watercolor techniques. So that's not, I mean, it came out really lovely. Both of these things did come out nice, but still not quite what we were going for. And this just took entirely too much work. Now I apologize I didn't film this, but what I tried here on this part of the design was I just simply took the marker and just outlined the shape and then just dropped some water into it to see if it would pull the colors towards the center. And it did to a degree, but not as much as I had hoped it would, and that's kind of what I did in these areas as well, just seeing how it would pull the color. And here, same thing, I just outlined the shape with the marker and then dropped some color into it to see how well it would pull the colors in, and it didn't. But if you notice here on the top hat, this bow and these leaves have that Copic-like appearance, because I think I finally figured out how to do it. So what occurred to me was that, well, the way that you get the Copic light, that Copic blending, is that you start with the light color and then build up to a darker color. Now the Copics blend on their own because of their alcohol content. So how do you get a Crayola marker to blend that way? And I was getting close. The idea of adding the water was definitely on the right track. But rather than just trying to start with a dark color and pulling it to a light color on its own, do the same thing you do with a Copic marker. Start with your light color, add some dark color to it, and then add the water to blend. Let me show you. I was so sinking excited. So I've got some marker sets that I went ahead, and you can see I tested them here to see how well they you know, how they look together to blend them out. So let me just go ahead and get started and show you what I did. And this is another page from Mayot Silk Sunday Clothes collection. This is really cute. I can see where these fans would be really easy to fussy cut out and use in card making or scrapbooking. You would think this is a good reason to test the markers before putting them to paper, because you would think that this one would be the darker one, but it's not. This one is actually darker than this one once it's applied to the paper. Okay, now here's how I did it with the other paper on the bows and the leaves here. Wet a brush, whatever size brush is going to work for the size area you're working in. Since these are all really small spaces, I'm using a rather small watercolor brush. So I get it wet, but then I dab off some of that water, because we don't want it soaking wet. We want it, but not too dry either. It needs to be moderately wet, just to wet that ink again and blend. And that might have been a little too dry. This is definitely a technique that takes practice. You're not going to get the exact specific blending the first time out of the gate unless you're just exceptionally talented, and I'm sure that many of you are. But for me, I had to practice it quite a bit. I honestly wouldn't take it to my card making just yet. I want to practice the technique more and get it down to a science, so to speak. But let me go ahead and share with you some of the things that I learned in the process doing this technique, because it really did turn out beautiful and it really did have a nice blended effect. So if you're someone like me and you are somebody that loves to craft, but you're on more of a Crayola budget and not so much of a Copic budget, because I can tell you I'm not on a Copic budget. Going out and purchasing Copic markers even one at a time, which is kind of pointless because you need 2 to 3 of them for any kind of decent blend, is just not something that's ever going to be in my budget. Well, I can't say ever. Never say never. But at this time in my life, it is not something that's in my budget. So this technique is worth practicing. It is worth getting down. The way I started was, as I described earlier, was starting with the lightest color and then putting the dark color into the shadowed areas and around the edges of, you know, each little section, and then going in with a little bit of water. Now, and this is where a lot of practice will come in handy for you, is learning how wet to have your brush. Overly wet and the color's just going to run everywhere. Too dry, you're not going to get any blending. So you really have to practice with the level of wetness of your brush. The second thing is once I had done the dark color on top of light color, I started to say, well, just to myself, let's play around with this and let's try it a little bit differently and see if we get a different result. So then I started going in with the darker color first and doing the outline areas in the darker color, and then going over that and then the rest of the area with the lighter color. So I kind of started the blend process by putting the lighter color over the dark color and then bringing it down, around into the other areas. and then going in with my lightly wet paintbrush to do the blending. And I found that that is what ended up giving me the best results that I had by far, was going in with your darkest color first and your to do your outlining, and then to go into your shadowed areas, and then going over the whole thing with your light color. And I achieved the best blending doing it in that pattern, or in that direction. And the other thing that I learned as I continued to color and play with the markers in the water was don't go all the way to the line. When you put in your dark color down, when you're doing, like outlining your little section, or you're going in your shadowed areas, if you're wanting to stay within a line, within a visible line in the pattern, go just a little bit shy of the line, because when you get the ink wet and it starts to bloom a little bit, it'll push itself out to that line. So if you're already to the line with the color, it is going to go outside the lines. Now if you're fussy cutting it, that's not a big deal, but if you're not fussy cutting it, then you want things to stay in the line. But these are some of the things that I learned along the way. Yes, you can use Crayola markers to put beautiful color onto elements that you're going to be putting onto cards, or mixed media art, or art journaling, or scrapbooking. You can make Crayola markers beautiful, blended, and certainly workable for your projects. It may not look exactly like a Copic marker, it may not look exactly like an Aqua color marker, but unless somebody really knows the difference and is really inspecting that element closely, are they going to know the difference? And I'm telling you, they won't. They will not know. The average person who's going to be purchasing your cards, receiving your mixed media art, looking at your mixed media art, is not going to know that you didn't use a Copic or an Aqua marker to make that. And that's what it's all about, and it is achieving an end result that is beautiful and that you're proud of, and that you're proud to give someone. And I really believe that you can make that happen with Crayola markers. Well, thank you so much for staying till the end of the video. And I know it was long, but I hope that by the time you've reached this point, you found that it was worth it. That you too can be like me, somebody who is on a Crayola budget, but wants to achieve a Copic look, And I feel like it was worth the effort, and it's going to be worth the continued effort to continue to play with these Crayola markers, and to continue to practice this technique until it's perfected, and until I really feel like it's something that I can put on a card, which is what I enjoy doing with crafts of this sort. And I just want to give a big shout out and a huge thank you to Mayot Silk for entrusting me with her beautiful designs to test them out and to show them to you. Thank you so much. I really appreciated it, and I'm going to continue to have fun with these designs that you sent me, and I'm going to continue to find ways to use them in my arts and crafts. So thank you so much, guys, for watching, for being here. Please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe. That little subscribe button should be somewhere right about here. So I've been practicing figuring out where the subscribe button is. But anyway, you guys have a blessed day. Bye now.